Okay.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody out there? So glad that you all are here with us today. Grateful that we are able to have town halls again. It's some of you. This morning it was all people that had been to town halls before, but I see some newbie town hall people in here. So if this is your first town hall, I like to say you're in for a treat. But welcome. Lots of information, hopefully some encouraging words, and we're glad that you're here. For those that don't know who I am, I think everybody does, but just in case, my name is Bridget Bunning. I'm the Director of Pastoral Care and Mission here, and my part of Town Hall is always to try to focus on some part of our mission and values. So today I'm going to be talking about compassion, really, which is one of our town hall missions, but in light of a story. I'm sure everybody in here, if you haven't, raise your hand. Everybody in here seen It's a Wonderful Life? Yep, pretty much most folks. It's one of my personal favorite movies. And today that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Jimmy Stewart playing George Bailey. George is a wonderful guy. He's got big dreams. He's a go-getter. The only thing that stops him from moving forward with all those dreams is he's a heck of a nice guy. He always chooses kindness and compassion in his next right thing, as Father Jerry always likes to say. He chooses the next right thing. So we're going to talk about that. As George is getting ready to leave for college, his father suddenly dies, and there is a little savings and loan in his tiny town of Bedford Falls that only the board wants George to take over. If George won't take it over, then Mr. Potter, the bad guy in town who runs everything else, is going to take over the savings and loan and close it. So George does the next right thing. He decides to run the savings and loan. He decides to give the money that he saved so diligently for college to his younger brother so he could go and get an education. So he stays behind in Bedford Falls and runs the savings and loan. The movie is just a series of one events after another where George continually chooses kindness and compassion over his own personal gain. Even on George's wedding day, unfortunately, pegged on the day the stock market crashed, he was leaving for his honeymoon and he drove by the savings and loan, and much to his bride's dismay, she said, "Don't look, George, don't look." But he looked, and there was a big line outside the savings and loan, so he took his bankroll he had saved for his honeymoon, went inside, and using his personal funds, kept his savings and loan running so that it wouldn't close, in order for those folks to have an opportunity to still have to still be able to have loans, take out house loans, and for other things. So on his wedding night, instead of heading off to some fancy honeymoon, he went back to a dilapidated house with broken windows and no heat, to be serenaded by friends, again, friends who were supporting him. But again, because of his kindness, he missed out on that opportunity. So as George's friends, as you know the story, move on to bigger and better things, George continues to run the savings and loan, giving to those who might not otherwise have an opportunity, and those on the margins of society an opportunity to own their own homes and to have more chances in the world. Until that fateful night of Christmas Eve, where his uncle, who he has kept employed, whether he should have been or not is questionable, but his uncle goes to take the day's deposits to the savings and loan, misplaces the money, and loses it. Of course, Mr. Potter sees it, grabs that money and absconds with it, hiding it from George, saying that he reports him to the auditor, telling him they've lost the money, and the auditor comes and takes George and tells him he's going to be arrested if he can't produce the money, thinking that they've stolen it. Well, it's at that point that George's life begins to unravel. George starts second guessing all that kindness he's given out. He feels like maybe it would have been better if he'd never been born, believing that those that he loved would be better off without him. He gets his wish in the form of an angel called Clarence, who's trying to earn his wings. If you've seen the movie, it's kind of cute. But Clarence allows George to see what life would have been like had he never been born. And needless to say, George's life has rippled out into the world in all this goodness for a long, long time. One generous act at a time, changing people's lives for the better in both really small and really significant ways. At the end of the movie, George realizes his blessings, returns home to find the bank auditor waiting to take him to jail. But while he's waiting and appreciating what he has done and who he's with and his family, the town comes to his rescue. All those people who he supported all this time now come back to support him with finances and to rescue him from his predicament. So George has realized it truly is a wonderful life. Of course, Angel Clarence earns his wings, and George just celebrates his life. It's just a great movie. So why am I telling you all this about an old movie at Christmas that we've all seen? Well, despite the hardships of making those tough choices about not moving on and for him that he's sacrificed for, George keeps choosing to be kind and compassionate and have courage. He doesn't make those decisions lightly. He realizes and struggles what those sacrifices are costing him. They are acts of self-sacrificing love of others, fully knowing that those decisions he's choosing to benefit others over himself. But his rewards are also astounding. The friendships he makes, the support he receives for those in town that have relied on his goodness, now comes full circle back to him. He, one person, has touched so many people's lives that he did indeed change the world. He just didn't know it. So each of us, too, sitting here every day, one person at a time, one small act at a time, all together, working together, have changed Nazareth home. Your consistency and your reliability about being here these last couple years is astounding. And the gifts that you've brought and that you've given have been phenomenal. So we thank you for that. Nazareth home wouldn't be what it is without you all. And each of you have made a difference, one person at a time, communally, together. And thank you for making the residents here, the elders that live here's lives, and each other's lives better every day. So thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bridget is always a hard act to follow. I want y'all to know that every single time. And gosh, it's so great to see everybody. It's been 2 years since we've had town hall meetings, and I just, again, Bridget got a little emotional this morning. I think I am now. Just the gratitude of seeing all your faces, the long-term faces, and some of the new faces that we have now at the home. If anybody hasn't met Melissa Bailey, our Director of Communications, you might turn around. I know you can't see your face, but like completely, but our Director here, Communications, and Melissa's been heavily involved with getting us new ways to communicate, and Facebook and everything else we've been doing. I'm so grateful for all the gifts that she's bringing so far. We also have Sarah Askin, our CFO. She just started last Tuesday. And if you want to stand up for a second, Sarah. So Sarah's going to be working all this money for us too. So, so Sarah's here, and hopefully she's just going to like wave a magic wand. It's all going to be a beautiful thing. So I just want to greet Sarah and thank you everything you're going to bring to us. So. And I know we've got some other people here, a couple of new people in here as well. So again, I just want to thank everybody and for greeting and allowing people that are coming on board to really help us move in the right direction. But again, I think the one thing that I'm going to be standing up here talking about is that, workforce. Workforce has been on our brains so long, and for the last 2 years, boy, keeping our workforce and some of the things that we've done. And I was just going to do a really quick recap of some of the things that have gone on through the last 2 years and how we've made it and why we're able to see each other still today. And I guess you could say right now, one of the things that we constantly talk about is, we always have vacancies. We're always hiring, and thanks to Jenny and her countless hours that she's been putting in and the numbers that we put in to get these individuals here, we still have vacancies and we still have agency. And it's something that's very different from all of us that have been at this campus especially, is the fact that we had to use agency, which, to be quite honest, hadn't existed in probably 15 years or more. And that's something that we had to get used to. And if you recall, we even had the National Guard in here at one point that was helping us all out. And some of those things that we've just never experienced, but we've persevered and we've made it. But we're very thankful for those folks. But meanwhile, agency workers and things that you pull in are very expensive. And we still have to try to grind through. And some of the things that we've done to, I guess you'd say some action items that we took, even in 2020. If you remember, 2020 and 2021, in my personal opinion, are 1 year. I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's all mushed into 1 year. So we'll just try to break it down a little bit. 2020, when it first started back in March, one of the things that we did do for 6 months, if you recall, we had pandemic pay. We submitted pandemic pay to folks. We did that for a 6-month period when we received some PPE money, and we gave that back to our staff, every dime back to our staff. We spread it out as best we could to make sure we could do it because we had no idea how long it would last. We also had some COVID pay that we had to pay out. We had some bonuses, things like that. We kept trying to say, stay with us, let's get through this and do these things. The other thing that we did is that in February of 2021, moving forward, we did some more wage adjustments. We did mass wage adjustments that you may or may not have seen, but also we continue to be able to provide increases and hopefully be able to give those increases back to our staff on an annualized basis. Meanwhile, we're also still dealing with health insurance, escalated costs and those things too, so just trying to watch that on the map, but still being able to do that. The other thing we were also able to do in November of 2021, if you recall, we raised and we still have the increase in the shift differentials we offered on the weekends. So we still have that in place, raising that from $1 to $3 an hour, and to be quite honest, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to continue to do that. We were like, we got to do something, and we said, okay, here's another response that we've given back, and we've been able to sustain that. Another thing we also noticed is that the market kept grinding towards these increases for nursing staff. We had to increase our PRN rate for ours in September of 21 for our nursing staff, our LPNs, and we had to do all of that for the PRN because they were acting as our agency, but we still had the agencies coming through. So again, trying to develop a way to where we could entice people to work more agency. And then yet now, we're looking at February of 2022. We made it through our insurance renewal, which wasn't the best, but we made it again and kind of saw where those numbers landed. So I'm pleased to let everyone know as of February 20th of this month, we will have more raises going back to our non-exempt staff, meaning our hourly employees. And we've been still giving out, and we're looking at also not just the increases. Some of the folks that have been here a long time, some of you all have been here, and I'm looking all around of you all, and I just can't thank you enough. Looking at that as we move forward for our exempt staff each month on their anniversary, but also looking at those entry raises for people coming in as well as retention raises for people that have already been here. So those are things I've been working on literally for the past month and a half, trying to grind away and make sure that we have that correct. Also, as you get your increases in February, we will still be looking at your increases as you move forward for your anniversary months. So I just want to keep that in mind too, is that it's just not just going to be this, and we'll continue to try to pass that along to you. Now we do have some exceptions with our RNs that are working in the PRN category. We're going to kind of review that one more time. But if there is something that, again, I've been looking at it every day, I feel like I'm seeing 450, 430 wages in front of my face all day long, just trying to make sure that that's all accurate. So that's all coming. And keep in mind the 20th of February, that's when that'll happen. Another thing that we're also doing effective 2/20 is also we're increasing our shift differentials. So if you are anyone in here that's second or third, I know some of you all pull those crazy shifts sometimes too. For our hourly staff, we're doubling that. So in other words, some of the folks that have been experiencing $1 or $1.25 or 75-cent shift diffs, that's going to be $2 across the board. So $2 across the board for anyone in nursing on the hourly shift diffs. So all of that's going to be added on top of those increases to do that. So that is quite a bit going on with pay raises, shift differentials, increases that we've already done. But I also want to keep in mind, because there's a lot of exempt staff in here too, that is also going to be honored when we get to your anniversary year. We will be talking to you more about those increases. So I don't want you to feel forgotten also. So that is there and is definitely being looked at. A couple other action items in regards to things other than raises and increases that I want to remind everybody about referral bonuses. We've opened that up, if you also recall, when we didn't feel like we had any applicants. We said, hey, forever and a day, we always said no hiring a family. Forever, not because we don't like your family, it's just because it's your family. I always just tell people all the time, I said, be careful, because when you see your family every single day, that you might not like them anymore, I'm telling you. But one thing about it is that we try to still hire family, but try to keep it on maybe on a different shift, a different department, and keep in mind those referral bonuses are eligible on either campus. So that is perfectly fine if you hire someone here. I mean, you work here and you recommend someone at another department, even at the other campus, it doesn't matter. We will make sure that will give to you. And that referral bonus is nice. It's $1,000 per employee. Now, how that works is that's also all doubled. Right now, we have it in effect through March 6th, so we'll still review that again on March 6th. But after 60 days, you would get when that employee stays here for 60 days, that's a $300 bonus. After 120 days, that's another $300 bonus. And after 1 year, that's $400. So that's $1,000 total for each referral. So I always tell people, it's a standard joke I have in our orientations. I always say, just make sure, if that person you referred, just make sure that they're going to come after you for probably a little bit more than a combo meal, some of that money. So I tell them that too, but again, that goes back to you as well. So just remember, even if you've been here a long time, just continue to be aware of our job posting boards. They're downstairs right next to the right of the time clock on there, and a lot of people come by those, take photos of it. We update those every Friday. Jenny and Mona are very diligent about making sure that gets up there because it's constantly changing, and we want you to know what's actually vacant to help us out with those things. A couple other things too, I wanted to talk about rehires. If you notice, I sent out those policies again. I apologize, I wanted to get those out in PDFs, just had a moment. So you can read those. Also, we're getting our fair share of people coming back. They've left us and come back. And one thing, now once you don't feel like, oh, they'll rehire anybody, we're reviewing all those things too to make sure that, but a lot of folks we lost due to attendance policies. And I can tell you, we've had all sorts of crazy things happen with attendance, whether it be childcare closing, I have to take care of my mom, the kids, whatever the case may be, but it's not their fault. So we used to always review that after a year, and now we're actually reviewing it after 3 months. So if someone had a problem, the one thing that we always like to do is be able to say, it's okay. Right now I know it's not a good time, but if you want to come back, we'd be happy to review that again. So again, I always say you have great employees sometimes, and then they just life gets in the way. So those are things we've been kind of looking at, and also that's been modified and changed. And then just two more things. If you have noticed, and a lot of you guys have been here a while, our old policy EIB, Extended Illness Bank, is what that stands for. We still have that, but it's called a sick bank now, sick pay. So what we've tried to do is open that up a little bit more to where people just have a day off. If they I don't feel well, I've had a reaction to the booster, I'm just not feeling great, and I really don't want to come into work. I'm not sure, there's been a lot of uncertainty as to what people have. You can access your sick bank if you've got some sick hours in there without an MD note. So if you just say, if you have a call out and you say, I'm just not feeling great, you just got to make sure that you do still do the regular procedure of calling out. But if you do request a sick bank, I went ahead and brought this time, is that we don't typically use these forms much anymore, but these are still around, employee request forms. Right now it says just PTO, everything is done PTO online with on-shift. But down here at the very bottom, you would just write sick and you would request the hours that you would want for those particular days. Give that to Brooke and then she would take care of that. If you get to a third day that you're out off sick, we would say you gotta have an MD note. Because those triggers other things, and we would go up to 2 days, but after a third day, we're gonna say you gotta go see a doc. Because if you're not getting better, we wanna make sure, and that could also trigger things like FMLA and all that kind of stuff too. So just kind of keep that in mind, and that's another modification that we put in effect, and hopefully that'll help you guys out. We have not made a change to the attendance policy. That still remains the same, so that's still just there, just monitoring those days off and that kind of stuff too. If you have a multiple day absence, it would just count as one towards that wonderful point system that I just love, and just no, I do not love it. So, but it's still there, and that is what it is. And last but not least, if you haven't been aware of this, I'm very hopeful you can help us with this. Couple of things going on is that if you're not aware, I know you're aware because you passed and you're now CNA. Everybody know Becca's a CNA now? So the one thing is that Laura Cartwright is still doing our training for CNAs. If you're not aware of this, we have what's called a temporary nurse permit that we've been utilizing for people that they're kind of interested, they've been sort of hem-hawing around with getting into healthcare, but you know, of course there's a huge CNA shortage. Why not create our own? So Laura, I'm gonna give kudos to Laura, she took it upon herself to go out and get her certification during the pandemic to actually be able to train CNAs. So since that time frame, we've had some great success, Becca. So we got that, but we've also had, just to give you a few statistics, started in late 2020 in the fall. We were able to get 4 new CNAs. We had in 2021, 10. And then this year we have 2 students, and then we're just waiting for their testing results. So again, off to a better start. And while it doesn't sound like that's many, that's huge. When our big thing is once they become CNAs, is retaining them too. So that's the other thing as well. But again, great opportunity to become a CNA if someone's interested in that. And then I also wanted to let you guys know about the Apprentice Program. Now, most of our folks that come in that are brand new to the facility come into the building and they're actually interested in becoming an apprentice to become particularly a CNA. That's a brand new term, it's not totally brand new, but it's a kind of a different type of word for people in healthcare, because you're used to hearing journeyman, those type of things, but that's now been brought into the healthcare industry. And with that said, what we've done is you can sign up to be an apprentice, but the other thing that's pretty cool about being an apprentice, not only the benefits of an apprentice through the Family Scholar House, also the opportunity to become a CNA, but also the fact that you do not have to be an apprentice to actually also take advantage of this. But our initial intent was for you to actually gain leadership, dementia certifications, leadership, dementia, and infection control in nursing. And each time you completed a module, you had a quarter that was added to your paycheck. So quarter an hour is added to your paycheck. Well, you do not have to be an apprentice, but the Apprentice Program sort of got that moving, and that's called Nazareth Home Forward. But with that said, other folks have done that, and they have increased their wage. I think we got another person over there that's taking advantage of that as well, right, Sabine? Isn't that you, Sabine, behind that mask? That's one right there. So again, very proud of these people that have done this, and they've been awarded with it, not with this with a certification. What did I do with my medals? I don't know if I brought them in. No, I didn't. But they have like little tags that they'll see underneath their badges, and I completely forgot to bring those in, but they'll hang to the bottom, and Sabine, I don't know if you got one right there. So she's got one there that shows her certification that she's received, but also an increase in her pay for those modules she's completed. Now, we are now introducing, not just in nursing, we now have a culinary program, meaning the dietary team is now eligible for this as well. Laura Cartwright has done an excellent job in making sure that, you know, when you have online training, sometimes you can just sort of go through the motions and they don't mean anything. And she wanted to make sure that the trainings that we got that our people actually got certified for were meaningful. And now there is a culinary, which is / dietary that's available, and that is now started up in February. So people can do that too, and that's back here as well. Environmental services coming soon. So she continues to do this and also enhance the programs for our staff and opportunities galore of what we can actually do for our people. So with that said, Wow, that's a lot of talking. So just to let you all know, I'm just going to just continue to say, if you have any questions, of course, obviously see myself or Brooke or Jenny in those arenas, but I'm just continue to express our gratitude to all of you, and that is truly heartfelt. So thank you.
Thank you, Ben. It's great to see you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Not just today, but every day. I would love to check in with every one of you and give some time to talk about what we've been through, because what we've been through has, it's been a lot, right? It's been a lot of words, frustration, fear, anger, fatigue, guilt. I would say for many of us, when you feel that you want to do everything you can and you are doing everything you can, but yet you feel you're falling short, it doesn't feel very good. And I think so many of us had those feelings in the last 2 years. So how are we feeling today? Sometimes after a week like last week, we feel tired, right? I thought a lot about last January and February. Last January and February were the toughest times, I think. When we look at these census numbers in a minute, I think you'll remember what January and February were like. Last Christmas, the bombing in Nashville took out our power, our switchboard, our medication administration didn't work. Kim and I were in here the entire day on Christmas with many of you. And that was just one thing that happened. So many, many things happened, but here's what I knew. There would never be a day that I would be here, that I would not be surrounded by love and care and commitment from each of you. And I want to thank you for that. And I hope that you, on some of your darkest days, keep that open heart and open mind to what is good in this world, because much of it is right here under this roof. And I want to thank you for that. So like Bridget said, one person can make a difference, but all of us working together can make a huge difference. And not that we can fix the world, we can't fix the workplace. I always say I can't make the world love the nursing home. I can only share with the world how much I love the nursing home. I can't make the world respect the nursing home, but I can every day show respect for everyone who uses the nursing home and works in the nursing home. So we are always working to the good. And for those of us who believe, we know that God turns all things to good for those who believe and follow. So I thank you for that. Now it's time for some facts, because I know that our workplace is distressed. I know that many days you're thinking we should have more people. Many days you're probably wondering, well, what are they doing about it? So in these next few minutes, I just want to give you a glimpse of kind of some of the things that have happened. And I hope you're hanging on to what Jennifer said about what will happen. But I want to say a couple of things about how we get there, about how we make decisions. So I know all of us have our gut check we have our heart check, and we kind of have our head check. And a lot of times things get really busy in our heads. And so we get lost on where are the facts. So let's look at some of those. We're gonna start here with Clifton. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time with that, but these messages are going to both campuses, so I have both slides in here. So what is on this slide is really that census, starting back in September and coming to now. Just go on to the next one. And these slides look a lot different on my PC than they do on this screen, so I apologize for that because I know you don't see them very well. So, you know, I always have to talk about money. That's what the administrator does, talk about money. Maybe next year we'll get Sarah up here talking about money. But for right now, it tends to be my job. So we are a cash in, cash out organization. How do we make money here? Mary Lou, how do we make money?
Residents.
Yeah, exactly. We're paid for what we serve and who we serve. So what you can't see on that chart is that in September of 2020, we had 126 people we averaged in September. It takes about 148 people for us to make payroll. So we had many months, obviously, that we were way below that. We spend 82 cents on every dollar we break in on staff and benefits. The other 8 to 10 cents goes on whatever it takes to run the business and take care of the building. We are a service economy, and we're proud of that. We're proud of that. I'm just sharing with you where we were during those COVID years. So about May of last year, of 21, we started to recover a little bit. We averaged 145 people that month. And then by September, I was starting to feel, okay, I think we're gonna make it. I think we're gonna make it. Because we averaged that month 147. And we've been there and we're creeping. Of course, when this next variant hit, we're like, but downtick. So while all of that is going on, all of these things are happening in the workplace. Here you see Clifton. We'll go on to Nazareth Home. So that number at the bottom there, our turnover, in the 60s, that's a big number for us. For probably 15 years, that number was in the 30s. Then it went to the 40s, and now it's 61%. So when you look over on this, on the left, where it says discharge, through 21, we discharged 10 people. I kind of want you to sit on that for a minute, because as Jennifer always says to a hiring manager or to somebody that's being counseled, we don't hire people to terminate them. We hire people to have a successful time at Nazareth Home. We terminate very few people. So when you look at this chart, you'll see that people like Jenny, we hired 135 people in 21. We have about 220 active employees. So think about that. That is a lot of churn. That is an incredible amount of churn. So many of us are working as hard as we can trying to fill some of these positions. Now, I want to tell you on this 61%, here's a really troubling national percentage. You know what that number is nationally? It's 100%.
I was gonna say 73.
It's 100%. Among 5-star properties, that number is 70%. 1-star properties, it's over 100%. Again, I say I never want to try to make anybody feel good about what we're doing by comparing it, but comparisons are the world I live in, because every decision that I make or recommend, I have to benchmark in some fashion, right? So we can't just wake up one day and say, oh, we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that. I have to have evidence of why that might work or might not. Our open positions. So in the nursing department, we budget 127 full-time equivalents. So you see there the number of open positions every month. That's about 15% of the nursing positions. In dietary, our dietary department is budgeted for 25 people. Those open positions you see there represent about 20% of the dietary department. Environmental services, we have 21 people in environmental services. Their open positions represent about 12%. And that is pretty much on balance every month, what we're seeking to fill. Did anybody happen to see 60 Minutes this last Sunday night? Well, if you did, you probably heard that the reason Louisville was selected is we're so average. Louisville is very average. We were average on COVID deaths to the country. We're average on vaccination for the country. So they picked an average location to talk about what was going on. If you saw it, I thought it was very powerful, because I'm quite certain that there's not a person in here that hasn't had some of those feelings that you heard expressed. The person who said, I'm taking care of someone dying in one room, but in the next room, someone is chewing me out because I was late getting their water. Right? So that leaves some scars on us, right? That's why what we do is so powerful and so full of meaning. And the people who do it well are lights to all of us. Because Bridget talked about sacrifice. It happens every minute here. And I just want you to know that it's seen and it's appreciated. Yesterday, a few of us sat in a room downstairs and looked at the Engage, the Pulse surveys. So I want you to know that while we're studying up on facts, we also study up on what we can learn about how you feel and how your day is going. I want you to know those things are seen and they're taken seriously, or else we wouldn't collect them. So it matters how you feel about what you do and being here. But feelings always have to be balanced with the context of other realities. But I just want to say to you, please respond truthfully with your ask, because it really does matter, and it is heard, and I thank you for that. Just speed on. In the sake of time, I'm trying to be faster. I was told this morning I talked a long time. So, the government has a little new wrinkle to the 5-star. You know, we've been 5-star since 5-star came out. When we purchased Clifton, they were at 2 or 3, and we got them to 5-star in less than 2 years, and we were very proud of that. And we're proud of everything that goes on there, the same as here. But there is now a new stat on staffing. And of course, everyone who does not like the nursing home thinks that we don't staff well on purpose, or that we're not staffing well because we don't care, or, you know, we want to make so much money. I guess you've seen that commercial about and I was just so happy it was a female administrator. Have you seen that ad? I'm like, yes, finally, men and women are equal in their money-driven non-caring. Praise the Lord. So, but that's the tone, right? That we're not doing any better because we choose not to do any better. But you and I, of course, know that is not the truth. That is not the truth. So, in this rating now for nursing, we're a 3-star. We're 2 minutes of RN below a 4-star. But here at Nazareth Home, we figured out how to deliver an absolute spectacular quality outcome with this sort of staffing, right? Our LPNs are awesome, and look at the LPN hours per patient day as compared to the country and the neighborhood. Can you see that? So our LPN hours per patient day, 1 hour and 48 minutes, as compared to national 53 and Kentucky 53. So I want to share this with you because I want you to know when that 3-star comes up that we are staffing in a way that not only is responsible, even though day in, day out, somebody might not like it, here's the numbers. And these numbers, I used to be able to fill in these numbers in the old days. I just wrote them out for the state. Now they come directly off what's called a payroll journal. So they've taken people like me out of it because they think I would just write whatever to make us look good. I never did that. I don't think other people did it. But again, that's the view. So total number of nurse staff hours per resident day. Guess what? On the weekend, we're calculating this now. Why is that? Why is that? Pardon me?
Not enough people.
Because folks think we're deliberately not staffing the weekend, right? So there's the facts. So, vaccination. One of the myths, I think, that's out in the media that was confronted on this 60 Minutes is that the vaccination has run people off of the workplace. There may be some examples of that. We're not an example of that, and I think on balance, as you heard the nurses at university say, it was a scant few. So hats off to our nurse leadership. I think our nurse leadership has done a spectacular job of helping people, listening to people, coaching, getting people to the vaccination center, holding a hand, doing whatever. But these percentages are awesome and are well above the state benchmark. The state was tracking percentages of nursing centers. When we even hit 75%, we were in the first group of 10 that hit 75%. vaccinations. So thank you for that, we're doing really well. And then, and the same on the Clifton campus. We've done a great job with this, so thank you. So I mentioned, so when you get ready to make a management decision, you look at how often does that really take place, where the needs are, what does it take to make it happen, and what do people think about it? So what's always on my mind is what you think and what our customers think. So in the last couple of years, we changed our customer satisfaction model to this group called Pinnacle. For those of you that were ever close to that process before, we had a massive survey of everyone in October. We would get those results in November, and then we would put them in our annual report in December. But I began to feel like they were cumbersome, they were very expensive, and they weren't very flexible. So we went to this company. They do a random float. So X amount of our customers are sampled each month, and X amount of them are actually live phone call. And if that phone call doesn't turn out well, the company pings me, and then I phone that family. And I will tell you, it happens quite a bit. So it's some real time, and I feel very strongly about it, that it's a pretty good system. So now we have received customer awards from them for being in the top 15% of their client base on all of our programs across both campuses. So thank you for that. And they asked those same questions that the other did. Would you recommend for care? Do you trust where you are? Do you feel confident in the nursing staff? Do you feel confident in the administration, solving your problems, answering your questions? So they're really all the questions that you would want somebody to say yes to. But we can't get enough of that. We can't get enough of that. And so I want you to know that following these town halls, and thanks to Melissa for being someone who can kind of pick this up and take it forward, we're going to start on a system of kind of rolling conversations, I guess, to where we're not in a room with me talking to you, but we're in a room, me listening to you. Because I believe we got plenty of problems to solve, and I'm convinced you have ideas to solve them. And that's where we can do, as my mother would say, our best thinking. So the whole process of quality improvement is getting information from everywhere and then putting it together to make a decision. So that's what I want us to do better with this year, now that some of the heat is off with COVID, hopefully, some of the heat is off. And I hope that we all feel that we want some new beginnings, that we have learned that a lot of the things that we were doing were great, and some of the things that we were doing probably weren't necessary, and some of the things that maybe we were putting a heavy weight on, maybe they don't really matter to everybody. So how can we select a path that's really gonna get a win-win for everybody here? And that's really what we're after this year. So I've probably gone over my time again, but I do, I feel like I owe you kind of what we're doing, and I wanted to take this time to share that. So please know, open door everywhere, always, I think, and hope you know that. But please know that if not for you, we wouldn't have anything to offer to anyone. And each of you are important in that. And I think this guy back there is gonna have a party. All right, it's time to party. So thank you all. I'll hang around if you have anything.